Yes, reggae fans, this is Fully Full Word, and you're tuning in to the top ranking podcast sound, best sound in the world, so don't disappoint me.
All right, you're tuned in to the top ranking Reggae podcast. It's the show where you get to hear the stories behind the songs. My name is Glenn Holdaway, and I'll be your host. I'm very excited to announce that we have our very first sponsor. Today's episode is proudly presented to you by Reason Scene Company. Reason is a Hawaii-based clothing brand geared towards active individuals who love going out and living life. They sell all kinds of active wear and accessories, including hats, sunglasses, and even rash guards and motocross goggles. I'm especially excited to partner with Reason because I've personally been wearing their clothes for years now, my favorite of which has got to be my polarized Dekofsky 2.0 sunglasses. I've had them for over 6 years now, and let me tell you, they've definitely taken quite a beating on tour. I've taken them on stage, I've been to the beach with them, and now I just keep them loose in the center console of my car without a case, and I'm happy to say that they've still stood the test of time. No screws have ever fallen out of them, and the lenses are somehow still not even scratched, even after all that I put them through. I mean, compared to other sunglasses I've owned, many of which are expensive, major name brands, a lot of them have just ended up falling apart, so I can definitely attest that Reason makes really durable products. Not to mention their stylishness. I mean, these sunglasses look great. I love wearing them. So if you are someone who has an active lifestyle, Reason definitely is something that will be perfect for you, and they're a great grassroots company that are worth supporting. So go and check out their website, reasonsceneco.com. And if you see anything you like, make sure to type in the promo code PODCAST for 20% off your order. Once again, that is promo code PODCAST in all capital letters, PODCAST. So make sure you type that in correctly if you want that discount. And the brand is Reason, Reezen, Reason Scene Company. If you end up picking up something from their website, please let me know what you think about it. Now it is time to introduce our guest. Today we have one of the most decorated veterans in the LA reggae scene, none other than Zeb Dekofsky. Today, Zeb is most known for his role as the drummer in the band Tribal Seeds. If you're not familiar with Tribal Seeds, they are one of the most popular reggae bands in the United States, and they have just released a brand new album called Ancient Blood. This album features a diverse array of influences, including dub, ska, and cumbia, and also features a ton of incredible features such as Kabaka Pyramid, Holly Cook, Romaine Virgo, Hempress Sativa, Norman Grant of the Twinkle Brothers, and many others. This album is a must-listen, so please go check out Ancient Blood by Tribal Seeds if you haven't heard it already. Now, before Zeb joined Tribal Seeds, he was already an A-list drummer and had built up a huge name for himself from the reputation of his own band, Detour Posse. Founded in 1994, Detour Posse is a world-renowned backing band, performing in over 60 countries and working extensively with incredible artists like Barrington Levy, Gregory Isaacs, Shaggy, Sean Paul, J-Boog, Yellowman, and many, many others. In fact, Zeb has backed over 100 artists throughout the course of his career, even transcending reggae, playing with the likes of Stevie Wonder. I mean, it truly doesn't get much bigger than that, right? And, this is seriously just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more I could say about Zeb's career, but I think you're starting to understand that I am not exaggerating at all when I say that Zeb is truly one of the most decorated veterans in this scene. Funny enough, Zeb actually came straight from a recording session to do this interview today, so I was very grateful for his time, and it was amazing to have him on the show and hear him talk about all the work he did on the new Tribal Seeds album, as well as some stories from his career and life on the road. So, with all that being said, I think it's time. Without further ado, I bring to you my interview with Zeb Dekofsky.
1, 2.
All right, everybody, we're here today with Zeb of Tribal Seeds. How you doing today,
What's
Zebby?
happening? How you doing, brother?
Yes, sir. Doing good, man. Had a busy weekend. I know you spent all weekend at Cali Vibes. How was it for you, man?
Yo, it's cool, man. Cali Vibes is always a blast.
It's like a kind of chaotic thing over there, but it's cool. Yeah, the vibe's always cool, man, and it's always packed, so it's good.
Yeah, man. You were playing. I know, obviously, with Tribal Seeds. He's at Barrington Levy. Were there any other artists that you were working with the weekend, or just?
No, just Tribal Seeds, and then Barrington said we did an after party for Kareem from Arise Roots.
Nice. Oh yeah, Deep Piazza's, right?
At Deep Piazza's, yeah. But other than that, no, just those 2 sets.
Just those 2 sets. Yeah, you're one of the busiest guys, dude.
I was tour managing for Tribal Seeds too for that show.
You were?
Yeah. So
dude, I didn't know you did TM.
Going on. Yep.
Did you is that like your first time doing TM, or have you always done that?
No, I TM'd for years and years. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, for Tribal Seeds, just recently some of the shows, but I TM'd for like ton of artists and at Detour Posse for like 20 years.
Wow, what's that like?
Oh, it's a lot of stress and headache. But, you want to do it because you want the band to be happy. You want to make sure everybody in your crew is taken care of.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get. Like you get a random tour manager that, it might be a good dude, but might not really necessarily look out for you the way you want to be looked out for.
Yeah, or just not organized, or just when, like, stressful things happen, they might not be able to, like, handle themselves.
Yeah, or some might not even really care that much and be like, okay, well, no big deal, But if you're, you're in the band and you want to take care of your fellow band members, and that's why I kind of got into it in the first place.
Dude, do you have any, like entertaining stories or like funny stories from TMing, or like, I'm sure there's been some crazy times with that,
Yeah, I mean, there's tons. We can get into that later.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we're getting sidetracked already.
Yeah.
Dude, first and foremost, I want to congratulate you on the brand new Tribal Seeds album, Ancient Blood.
Thank you.
I know it's been a long time in the making. A lot of hard work went into that, and I wanted to, give you a chance to talk about it. What was it like recording that, and all the amazing features that you guys have gotten, like Romaine Virgo, Holly Cook, the Twinkle Brothers. I mean, like, it's stacked album.
It is, yeah. We started working on that record way back in 2019.
Yeah.
Started like kind of recording the first drum tracks, and we ended up scrapping like a lot of those songs, and Steve wrote new songs.
Oh, wow.
So a couple of them stayed. I think Tokyo we had recorded back then.
Nice.
I think Down Bad Vibes, but we hadn't had Sakari on it yet. It was just the basic track. And then so, COVID happened.
Yeah.
That was a huge, wrench in the works.
Yeah. Although you guys made a great live album during that time.
But in the midst of all of that, Tony Ray came back to the band and jumped back in as musical director and producer, which, was awesome to have Steve and T-Ray back together.
Yeah.
So, everything happens in its own time. So now the record that we have now, Ancient Blood, is really the record that we wanted, rather than if we had tried to rush it back then to get a new record out.
Did T-Ray produce this whole album, or were you working with multiple producers?
T-Ray did produce this record. And I mean, there's a lot of people involved in the record, making of the record.
Definitely, yeah.
But yeah, T-Ray and Steve wrote the record, and it's pretty much those two kind of had the vision to put it together, and the rest of us come in and lend our vibes and our ideas, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you end up with what we have, and we're pretty happy with it.
Yeah, it's great, man. And as far as like the songwriting goes, so would it be like T-Ray and Steve, they write the song, they make a demo, and then maybe you guys come in and add it, or like how collaborative is it?
Different songs are different things. Sometimes T-Ray has a beat already, a rhythm.
Yeah.
Steve might write to that, or Steve will just have his guitar and just write the song on a guitar first.
Yeah.
We'll do like a little pre-production version of it. T-Ray or whoever will throw like a drum machine on it and a little quick bass line and some rhythm and whatever, and then I'll go into the studio and I'll do the live drums.
Yeah.
Go back after that, re-record all the other parts now to the live drums.
Nice, yeah.
But a lot of times, we'll do like a pre-pro version of it with like a drum machine, just to get like the arrangement.
Yeah.
And I'll go in and I'll play to what's there already, take the drums out, and then everybody else will come back in and play to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like that,
Like, what are some standout tracks to you on the album? Like, what were some of your favorite ones to?
I mean, Bondage, obviously, with the Twinkle Brothers.
Yeah.
That was a big, geek thing for us to get the Twinkle Brothers on that, because we were talking about it, for a while, and it was like, oh, you think we could get them? Yeah. Are they gonna is Norman gonna like the song? And that came together really cool.
Have you met those guys before?
I have before, yeah.
Nice.
But it's been a long time. Yeah, when I used to do Bob Marley days and all that back in all the artists, Twinkle Brothers was all a lot on the shows back then. But they haven't been on a feature for like
Yeah,
a while.
pretty
And
long
you know what
time.
I mean? Like, you know, so it was a big thing to get them.
Did you just like send them the track and they recorded it remotely? Like, how did that work? Did you ever go back and forth with
I
it? Like,
honestly don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't involved in that process, but yes, I'm assuming, yeah.
yeah.
We sent him the track. He lives in Jamaica. I'm sure he recorded it in Jamaica. That's the beauty of today. You can just email
Yeah.
shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, here.
Yeah,
Here's the
nice and
stems,
easy.
Here's the bounce of like a stereo bounce of the track. Throw your vocals on it, come back, remix it, da da da.
Yeah.
So
Makes
I
it
mean, that's
easy.
how all the features are pretty much done on this record. Like Romain Virgo on One Time, with another one of my favorite songs on there. And,
Yeah.
And Nice Up with Kabaka.
Yeah, man.
And you know what I mean? Like, so, like those guys they were really, really like excited to do the track. They did it pretty quick. I was pretty surprised. Sometimes
Wow.
it takes a while.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, sometimes hey, are you feeling this track?
Oh,
Are you
man.
At the end of the day, money or not, like you won't really get a feature unless they really want to do it.
Definitely, yeah.
They gotta want to do the track. They gotta be feeling the track lyrically, melodically. Because we had asked, in the past, there's times when you ask people, hey, what do you think? Would you jump on this? And people are like, you know what? I like it, but it's not my style.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And so it's not always everybody's style just to be on a feature, like especially at this level. You have
Yeah.
to be like pick and choose like what fits your style and your voice best. You know what I mean? So I think we ended up with like the best that we could possibly have wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Seriously.
It's crazy, And having the elevators on there, we have like a ton of female features on this record, which a lot of people don't have.
Yeah.
Because I think we kind of wanted to like make this record kind of accessible and for everybody involved in reggae music, for whether it's old school, new school, mid school, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because you got the Twinkle Brothers all the way to the Elevators and Holly Cook. Like, yeah,
We have
and-
Empress Sativa on
Yeah.
there. We even have Vanalia's on one of the tracks singing background Aya.
oh,
And we have Natalia Doko from Argentina, who's really good on In Love. So it's like, we have 4 pretty dope, super dope female features on it.
yeah,
Because we wanted to represent everything musically, stylistically, reggae-wise. We have a Rocksteady song with Harley Cook. We have
Yeah.
a ska song, which is Tokyo. We have steppers on there. We got One Drop. We got some booth bops. We have like
Yeah.
some EDM, cumbia with Ancient Blood and all kinds of stuff. So it's like,
Yeah.
I think we wanted to kind of be like, hey, this is kind of an anthology of what we like and what the music is about now worldwide, especially culturally, coming from this cultural standpoint that Travel Seeds is from. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I definitely hear all of those themes in the record, and like you said, I love the diversity of each song. Like, it's not like you're listening to an album. It's like, oh, this song is just the same as the last song. Like, every song is like got its own thing going on.
Different tempo, different
Yep.
vibe, different beats. Tried to channel different drummers on certain things.
Yeah,
Like, if you listen to Bondage, it's definitely like Style Scott,
yeah,
It's very simple, boop off, bro. Like, Aya, that song too. There's no skank in that whole song. It's just
I
a
love
dub.
that drum for the that you do the whole
and
time. Yeah,
that's just the whole slide unbar T-shirt on
Yeah.
the snare.
Oh, sick.
Trying to channel the Channel One sound on that
Yeah,
song.
that-
Back
that's
in the
probably my
day,
favorite cut off
I
the
really
album.
dry the T-shirt on the snare and they put the reverb on it after vibe.
yeah,
That's on Aya on that song. So like and then the song Mellow Mood was definitely like kind of a Stuart Copeland inspired
Nice.
vibe on that song, especially with some of the hi-hat work that's on there. And obviously Tokyo was Scatterlights all day. So
Yep.
I'm going to the bell on the hi-hat doing all
yeah. I loved
all
hearing
that
a
kind of
ska
stuff.
tune by
Yeah, you know what
Tribal
I'm saying?
Seeds,
So
man.
like that's straight Scatterlights. I'm trying to channel that energy into like a new song. you know?
Yeah. Well,
So-
yeah, it definitely comes across.
And I try. Obviously, I'm trying to make it my own while I'm doing that. But that's like where the inspiration I think had come from. On some of that stuff.
yeah, well, I think everything that I've seen about the album, it seems like people are like really stoked on it. are you guys planning a tour to promote the album? Like, what's next for Tribal Seeds?
Yeah, we have a bunch of festivals, and we have a headline tour with Kabaka Pyramid and Innovision
Yeah.
in May, and then we're gonna probably do another tour after that later on in the summer, I think, and some more festivals coming up. So, yeah, and we're trying to get it out international and
Yeah.
get back out there to Europe and South America.
Yeah, you guys just went to Europe. Maybe it was like just before COVID,
before
right?
COVID, yeah.
Man, I can't believe it's like 5 years ago.
It's
It feels like it wasn't that long ago.
So wild, bro. It's crazy, man. Like,
Was that Tribal Seeds' first time in Europe?
pretty much, yeah. That's
Wow.
the first time the band had done like a run tour in Europe.
Yeah. How are the fans out there? Did people like Tribal
They were
Seeds?
crazy. It was nuts. Like the shows were all sold out.
Wow.
And we did Summer Jams Festival, obviously, and they loved us over there. And then we did a bunch of shows on our own in like London and different places, and it was sold out. Not humongous venues for the first time, but decent size, and it was sold out. And they knew every word to every song.
Wow, man.
There's 500 people there. You never played in that country ever, and they know all the words, like the verses, not just the hooks, like
Yeah.
the verses, everything, bro. So I think the band was kind of blown away by that, like response, like, wow, we didn't know, like, and I told you, like, 'cause I've been to Europe many, many times, and I told them the crowds in Europe are way excited. They're way like very appreciative of live music.
Yeah, that's
and they
what I've
show
heard.
it to you. Some not to say anything bad about American crowds because they're great too, but sometimes they've been there all day. Like in Europe, they're like they don't care, bro. They're like like
Yeah.
you.
I've noticed with like international festivals, like when I go out of the country, like a lot of the festivals here end at like 10 p.m. Out there, it's like it hasn't even gotten started at 10 p.m. It's
they
like
go off,
the next day, it's still going. Like,
Yeah, they go off. So I think the goal of the band for this record is to do more international stuff.
yeah. Are there any specific places that the band has in mind?
For
Yeah.
sure. Like we were supposed to do a tour of South America before, right when COVID happened. So we had to scrap that, Brazil and Chile and all that stuff. So we definitely are like gearing towards doing that for sure. And
Yeah.
Europe, Rototom and like the festival circuit.
Yeah, man.
In Europe, this year obviously is not gonna happen, but next year, So this year, yeah, we're gonna be stateside a lot. We're gonna be on a lot of the festivals.
Great, man.
You know what I mean? And then we're just trying to get this record heard by as much people as possible.
Yeah, you guys gunning for a Grammy?
I mean, everybody's gunning for a Grammy.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I would love it.
I saw your post the other day.
We're definitely
honestly.
I think we definitely have a record that absolutely could be nominated for a Grammy Award. Like,
Yeah.
if I had heard this record, not having played on it, not having even known the band, I would be like, wow, this is a great record. Like,
Yeah.
me aside, it's a really good record, and I think it represents reggae music in America
Yeah.
very well. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? I know a lot of people had told me, like, when the record came out, they're like, yo, I haven't even listened to a lot of, this current pop reggae scene because they were getting tired of, like, oh, it's the same thing, and da-da-da-da. And they're like, your guys' record came out, and I was like, yo, okay, I'm back in now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's good, you know what I'm saying? I'm glad that people are seeing it, that, hey, we set out to make something unique,
Yeah, there's something for everyone in that record, and I think that's what makes it so great. And
Yeah, man, we're pretty proud of it, yep. So just keep on streaming and buying it.
Yeah, man.
It's
And-
funny, too, because we put it out right before Bob Marley movie came out, so the hype for the Bob Marley thing is so big right now. It's like
Yep.
all the records in the top, like, 10 to 20 is like all Bob Marley, and then ours is like right like in the middle there now, like
Yeah.
we're still like swimming around in the sea of 8,000 Bob Marley
Sea
records
of
that came
Bob.
out. So yeah,
Well, I've actually, like, speaking of the Bob Marley movie, I've been really interested to see how that movie is going to impact the reggae scene, like, in general. I'm wondering if, like, the reggae festival this summer are all of a sudden going to be, like, even more packed, like, than usual, just new people, like, excited about reggae.
I think it could. I think like anything that has to do with this music that we all love so much, like that's gonna be in the mainstream is good.
Yeah.
Whether it's Bob Marley or it's not Bob Marley, like it's gonna only help all of us too, I think.
Yeah.
At the
Yeah,
end
I
of the day,
agree.
because it keeps like the music alive in the eyes of the mainstream audience that might not ever care about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I haven't seen it yet, but I do want to see it. And check it out. But yeah, I think so.
Yeah, cool, man.
I think it'll help.
Well, yeah, man. Well, congrats again about the album. I'm really excited to see what you guys do,
Thank you,
over the summer and next year, and see if you guys go internationally again. And yeah,
thank
man.
you. Yeah, in the meantime, I just stay in the studio, and I've been just do mad tracks in the studio. I'm over at 17th Street with Lou Richards.
Yeah, just today.
Lou Richards a lot, and I'm over at Gonzo's, and we've been doing a bunch of stuff over there too. And we're just trying to keep creating music.
Yeah. Do you have any of your own music that you're working on right now?
If everybody didn't know, I had a single with Dan Kelly that came out called Hope, and then I'm gonna do a follow-up single to it pretty soon.
Great, man. Some stuff with Gonzo too.
I'm gonna keep putting out my own stuff too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like any aspect of music, just keep it going.
Yeah.
You got your band stuff, you got your studio stuff, you got your solo stuff, it just keeps creating. It's just creativity. You have to keep creating.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, man. I'm excited for that too. But yeah, dude, I kind of want to also get into some of your early life and some of your career highlights. I mean, I'm gonna do an introduction so people will have, heard some of the stuff before. But your career has been pretty illustrious. You've worked with so many incredible artists, and I've known you for a pretty long time now. And I knew you grew up in Venice Beach. You basically have been a professional musician since you were like 10 years old, playing gigs in rock.
Professional, I guess.
Or unprofessional musician. But yeah, man, and you told me stories of playing gigs since you were 10 years old in rock bands and stuff.
Yeah, started out pretty much classic rock first, I think, 'cause my parents listened to Led Zeppelin.
Were they musicians as well?
Hendrix. My stepdad played guitar, and my mom sang and played a little guitar.
Cool,
my brother played guitar. Nobody was a professional.
Yeah.
But everybody kind of jammed a little bit.
Yeah.
So
would you guys have family jam sessions and stuff?
We did. Yeah,
nice.
We did. So my brother started playing guitar before me. He's a little older than me, and I started playing guitar. I was 7 maybe. I didn't really like it.
No.
Nah, I kind of was kind of hyper little kid, and I was kind of banging on.
Wanted to hit
shit,
stuff
so my mom had got me a drum set one year. I think I was 9, Christmas. The bow, a little red sparkle.
Yeah.
Thing, and I played it every day, bro, in my room. I just sat in my room, and I learned how to play drums just playing the records Tom Petty or Aerosmith, AC/DC, Ozzy Osbourne, Led Zeppelin, that kind of stuff. And I'll just sit there and just play all day to these records, Styx and Journey and all that shit.
Nice, man.
And that's kind of how I learned. I only took drum lessons for a couple years when I was 10 to 13 or 9 to 12, that range.
Yeah.
So I really only took drum lessons for a few years, and I was pretty good. I was good at reading. I was in percussion ensembles, playing timpanis and all kinds of stuff. Even in the span of that 3 years. But I just started skateboarding and doing all that shit with my friends, and the drum thing was okay, well, it's a hobby now. I started playing punk rock because I was totally into punk rock, and most of the guys I think in our scene, if you want to call it the Cali or the California reggae scene, we're all punk rock.
Yeah, Stupid
and ska
those
kids
guys.
basically, and it all kind of morphed into reggae through that. A lot of it for me was the message of the kind of punk rock that I liked was very political and anti-establishment, and
Yeah,
and reggae music was that to me too. Once I started, understanding the lyrics and all of that, let alone the music and
How did you first get into reggae from punk rock and classic rock and stuff?
My brother was into it with his friends, and back then it was, Black Uhuru, was Oswald.
And I imagine reggae
Pulse.
was kind of hard to find back then too.
It was very underground. It wasn't much. You're talking about in the 80s sometimes.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't a prevalent music at all. There would be a core audience that would be into it, and it was only Jamaican reggae, really,
Yeah, yeah.
So you had to search it out. My brother and his friends did, and they liked
wow.
it. And I had a punk rock friend that was very articulate and intelligent and very political and all that, and he got me into it as well, and just message-wise what the music was about.
Yeah.
So I started listening to it, and at first, we were skating our half pipes in our backyards and shit. And this isn't really good skating music, bro. We want some Slayer or whatever, we want some Subhumans or something, and Bad Brains. And so, my brother took me to a couple concerts. Took me to Steel Pulse and Jimmy Cliff. At
Oh,
the
nice.
Greek Theater.
Wow.
And another one was Sly and Robbie Taxi Gang. Or
Wow.
Black Uhuru. I think it was Black Uhuru, actually. Like the Black Uhuru from
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, like Puma Jones and
Dang.
all of that. So I think those were like the two first ones I went to. And so, you know, I got to see Grizzly,
Yeah.
you know, with Steel Pulse, and I got to see Sly Dunbar, and I was like, yo, this is dope. So live, I understood it more than on the record.
Yeah.
On the record, it was cool, but I didn't really understand how intricate and dope, like the drumming especially was, and like just the overall grooves.
Yeah.
Until I saw it live, and saw they were playing live, and I'm like, yo, this is heavy. The bass was just, you know, Black Who was banging the bang on like an actual upright piano.
Yeah.
It was like with the reverb. It was like
Dang, yeah.
It's pretty cool. So like I, you know, got me into it, and I started listening to it, play in my room, you know, Yellowman records. And,
Yeah.
You know, whatever. My brother, like in Barrington Levy and Gregory Isaacs and all that, which is crazy because I ended up playing with all those guys later on.
Yeah.
Little I know, I'm like in my bedroom at like, you know, 16, playing along to their records, and end up touring with these guys later, you know.
Yeah. How did you learn? Because, yeah, like you said, like.
Can I move this closer?
Yeah, of course, man.
I
Yeah.
feel like I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, go ahead.
Perfect. Yeah. So, I mean, like you said, reggae is obviously like very nuanced music, especially with the drums. Like, how did you first learn to play reggae and kind of perfect your own sound with it?
Well, I mean, we called it going to yard school. So most of us would have a mentor or a teacher that did this. And, you know, mine happened to be Wadi Gad. He's from Trinidad. He wasn't a Jamaican, but played with Jamaican. Everybody from Abyssinians to culture to like everybody.
Wow. How did you meet him?
Through the 12 Tribes. I was in the 12 Tribes.
Oh, wow.
And he was also a member of 12 Tribes. And so they have a 12 Tribes band. And, you know, I signed up to play some drums. And Wadi's like, yeah, let me show you how to do this correctly. You know,
How old were you at that time when you joined the 12 Tribes?
Man, I mean, this was a little bit later than when I started playing with my friends. You know, we started playing reggae with our friends. We had little bands and stuff.
Sure,
when I
yeah.
first really started to get serious about it with you know, guys like Wadi and them, man, it was about like I was like 20, 21,
Yeah.
maybe.
Were you
know?
like a Rasta at that time?
I had started growing my locks and
Wow.
started reading the Bible every day, chapter a day. And,
Wow.
you know, reading the Kebra Nagas and learning about Ethiopia and Selassie and all those things, yeah. Because I was really into the message and the spirituality of where the music was coming from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The first time I went to Jamaica was with Ross Michael, the Sons of Negus, and I ended up going to the Nyabingi camp, like up in the hills.
Wow.
Just hours of bingi and singing and smoking herb and, you know?
Yeah.
So I got to experience that, like, right away. And that's what I was into, was the culture of the music.
That's incredible.
Let alone just, like, I loved the music, and that got me more into loving the music was that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the spiritual elements and the message.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what drew me to it in the first place. And so yeah, we would just, I mean, I don't know how I got into like backing Jamaican musicians. It just kind of happened, I guess.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of us in LA or America really that were like doing that, like playing to a level where like these Jamaican artists would see, or like a promoter would see the band somewhere and go, oh, I think they could back so and so. Like, okay, hey, do you guys think you could back Mikey Dread? And yeah, sure, let's back Mikey Dread. So you back Mikey Dread, and then the next promoter sees the Mikey Dread show. Hey, you guys think you could back Lady Saw? Sure, let's do Lady Saw. And, you know, it starts like that.
Yeah.
And it just snowballed into the fact that Detour Posse kind of all came together as guys that backed separately Jamaican artists, but as a whole, we came together, and that's just what we did. You know, we did our own record too. You know, that we were trying to like promote also, but you know, the backing band thing kind of like took prevalence, where like all the Jamaican artists now was like, Detour is the band that we want. If there's a festival, we would get hired to back 10 artists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So, and we weren't the only one. I mean, Fully and Santa and those guys were also there doing it. And, you know, before us, there was, you know, Back in Service band doing it. There's been a lot of backing bands based out of Los Angeles. We kind of were like, we would do a lot of dancehall artists.
Yeah.
Back then, we were like, you know, we were like the one band that was really like do all of like the modern dancehall artists. So back then you had General Degree and Matt Cobra and Red Rat and
Yeah.
that Tonto Metro Devontae, like that era. So we kind of made our name doing that, and obviously Barrington Levy came through, and we became his band for the last 20 whatever years. You know what I mean? And through that, other opportunities opened up. Now you're on more stages worldwide. Now we were touring internationally all the time.
Yeah.
Europe and all over the Caribbean and Japan and all these things,
Yeah, I think that's one, like what you said earlier, I think that's one thing that kind of made you guys so unique is that you were able to play like roots reggae, but also like dance hall as well. Like what was the dance hall scene like back then?
I loved it because like I'm a 90s dance hall to me is everything.
Yeah.
So when you talk about like the late 90s into the early 2000s, that's when dance hall to me was like heyday.
Yeah.
All the rhythms were dope and the artists were fun, and it was
How were the shows like?
The shows were great. They were like raging. You know what I'm saying? Like it was definitely the heyday of dance hall.
Yeah.
Music, and so like that was cool to me. It just after that the dance hall scene just turned kind of dark. I feel like the trap thing kind of came in, and everybody started singing again about gunman and guns, and it's kind of negative shit.
So
and,
initially, dance hall
it was fun. It used to be fun. You know what I mean? Cats would make it fun. The artists were fun. Lady Saw was fun. Red Rat was fun. General Degree was fun. Like these guys were fun.
Yeah.
But then they kind of lost it. With like the kind of negative, like kind of darkness that came in, and I think a little bit that's what kind of allowed the rise of American reggae in America. Was like after that period, there wasn't a whole lot of reggae coming out of Jamaica that was like accessible over here. Dancehall, nobody over here wanted to hear that. They don't know what Vibes Cartel was talking about, shooting people and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they weren't really going for that. If you remember, like it was only until Chronics came out when people were like, "Oh, reggae is back again from Jamaica," right? Okay, but in that time, from the dancehall fun era to that, the American reggae scene and bands like Revolution and Tribal Seeds and all them came up.
Wow.
And I think a lot of that is because number one, it was way more accessible for the American use lyrically, and they could understand what's being said because it's not in patois.
Yeah.
Culturally, a lot of times, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're singing about things that they can relate to more than like life in Jamaica.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like, and all that plus like nonstop touring. And really like hustling. I remember like Soulja, when they were soldiers of your army, like they were like on the hustle and Tribal Seeds with months and months in van and Slightly Stupid, all of them, you know what I mean? They all, not everybody had tour buses, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
not yet. It was just, hey, let's get in the van and just tour.
Yeah.
Hard, you know what I mean? And a lot of Jamaican artists didn't want to do that. They wanted big money.
Yeah.
And so a lot of them, you started to see them kind of fall off in popularity in America because now the money started to go more towards this scene than that scene. You know what I mean? All the Bob Marley days and all that, the numbers started to,
Yeah.
But it allowed the rise of American reggae,
Wow.
Yeah, in America. I mean, obviously, like, we all love Jamaican reggae. We always will. But I mean, in terms of popularity here in America.
Yeah. Yeah, I never really thought about that, but yeah, you're right. Like a lot of bands, like Tribal Seeds, Revolution, like those, like kind of early 2000s, like 2006,
like
10,
2009 to or 2008 to 2014. Like that was really like when things started to,
and like the inception
really get more
of Cali
popular.
Roots
And I started to see it more like from my end of playing with Jamaicans. How the festivals were like, they have these festivals now that was all American reggae bands.
Yeah, that must have been
which
weird
they never
for you.
did. You know what I mean? If it was a reggae festival, it's usually like, okay, well, we got Sizzla, we got Bougie, we got Burning Spirit. You know what I mean? Now it's like, okay, well, we have Revolution and Travel. You know what I'm saying? And like they were doing really bigger numbers all the time. The numbers were growing, and the marketing of it and the popularity was growing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like what I saw from that end. So. And I never looked at it like, it was American reggae versus Jamaican reggae. But, people always like to categorize things.
Yeah, and they kind of like...
even now, I mean, people are like, we shouldn't call this American thing reggae. It's surf reggae or, whatever. And it's like, well, I don't know. It convolutes a lot of things, I guess. I don't know. Whatever it is, I just want to get a Grammy nom for it. So
Yeah, yeah.
that would be nice. Whatever you want to call it, bro. I just want to wear a suit. My wife be like, yeah. Like,
Yeah, yeah. It's like,
You know what I mean?
yeah, just make the music. You can call it what you want. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but what we do in Tribal Seas is we play reggae music. Like, I think everybody knows that. There's not ifs, ands, or buts about, like, yes, we might blend it with other genres, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we are true to the real roots of reggae music. And the band has always, even before I was in the band, has always been that way, you know?
Yeah, and people don't know, or maybe people don't know, that, like, you guys are comprised of, like, heavy hitting reggae musicians. Like, you know, like you, Lou,
Yeah.
like you guys have all played with, like, tons of Jamaican artists and, you know, put in your time.
And I
learning the
mean, even
music.
like the inspirations behind Steve and T-Ray, why they started the band and what they were into, Burning Spear and Midnight and all these, you know, artists was always roots artists, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, kind of like backtracking a little bit. Like your whole time of backing artists, like, do you have any like great memories or, I don't know, just fun experiences playing with artists or festivals? Like, what were some of your first times, like going international? And
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
tons, bro. Like, good and bad.
yeah,
You know, good and bad. Yeah, like there's times where you're like in Rome, for instance. I remember being in Rome and like
wow,
it was like this outdoor festival. You could see the Coliseum right there.
dang,
And like the crowd was so crazed and excited. They were like breaking down the things and, you know, like so loud, you know, like louder than the band, you know.
wow,
So you remember stuff like that. I also remember being at places where there was like huge riot and gunshots and people getting shot and
oh my, at the show,
yeah, running for cover. And the army one time had to take us like straight to the airport. They
Holy-
like surrounded us with SLRs. Get in the van, and we get in the van. They go straight to the airport, put you on a plane like some shit was popping off.
oh my god, man,
Yeah, there's been some crazy stuff that happened, but like, you know, more good than bad, obviously.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I remember one time I was in Bermuda. I was playing, and like one of the lights, the big cannon lights from the scaffolding, fell right behind while I was playing. I didn't see it, but I heard it when it hit the ground.
oh my god,
It was the big heavy light, right? It fell from like probably like 30 feet up, right?
yeah,
And my friend was watching from behind, and he was like, they watched it fall. They thought for sure it was gonna just smash me on the head, and it like missed my head by like an inch. And I heard it go on the ground. I was like, "What the hell was that?" He's like, "Dude, the light just fell." I was like, "Oh my god, bro!" Like, yeah, that's some crazy.
yeah, it's
time.
pretty intense, dude.
Funny stuff too, you know. Dudes. Yeah, I remember being on tour with Slightly Stupid with Travel Season. Like during our set, some guy just got butt naked, ran through the photo pit, you know, wiener hanging out, flopping in the wind, like through the photo pit. Somehow got backstage. We were on stage playing.
What?
Somehow got backstage all the way up on stage and was running out like towards our lead singer, like butt naked, bro. And our stage tech just grabbed him, headlocked him, and just chucked him off the stage, dude. Like flung him off the stage, bro. But I didn't know all this until later. I saw the video.
You didn't see
I
the
saw him
guy?
streak, and I was like, dude, is that guy naked? And then we met the dude like a couple.
You met him?
Yeah, a couple years later we.
Oh, I
ended up,
thought like later
a
that.
couple years later we end up. His guy's like, you know, it's like a regular looking dude. He's like, hey, remember me? I was the guy that was like streaking through the photo pit. I was like, dude, what the fuck? You know,
Like, why are you proud of
he's
that?
like, oh, sorry, I was on mushrooms. I was like, bro, I've been on mushrooms a million times, bro. I didn't streak through the photo pit. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty funny.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. A lot of flights. I probably played in about 60-something countries probably before or something
Wow.
like that. I tried to count it one time, but I forget, you know. Like a lot of places you would never, like French Guyana and like, you know.
Wow.
There's a lot of little countries that people forget, like Martinique and like these little islands.
Wow.
And, you know, all over the place. Caribbean, probably played every island in the Caribbean like multiple times. Even the little ones, Turks and Caicos and like the small ones.
Wow.
Yeah.
What countries have the best food, you think, if you had to?
I mean,
to
I like
say?
Jamaican food.
Yeah.
The best. I love Thai food. I like anything Cuban food.
Nice.
Like if you want like a country that has all of the things that you want, like I have to say, like people talk about like England, like their food is terrible. And it kind of is, no offense to anybody English. But if you go to London, you could get the best of every other kind of food.
Wow, yeah.
Like Jamaican food, Indian, Thai, everything in London.
Yeah, yeah.
They have the best of like everything, like as far as like food goes, I think.
Oh, man.
But cuisine-wise, I do love Jamaican food, and I love Thai food, and I love like anything like Cuban or, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Peruvian, like I like that kind of stuff.
What countries do you think have like some of the best crowds? Like I know you talked about Europe and stuff too. Like how does some of the crowds compare, I guess?
I mean, they're very excited. Like anytime you go to like, I feel like when you go out of the country, not everywhere, but like some places people are just a lot more, like they're not as, like in America, they're a little jaded with the entertainment. Because we have so much of it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so sometimes people could sometimes be like, all right, well, I'm going to another festival next week.
Yeah, you can go out any night of the week.
So they're like, all right, let's go, you know. But, like, you really feel the energy a lot of times in other countries where they don't get live music a lot.
Yeah, because it's like an event. It's like, wow.
Big.
Like
I've never played in, like, Africa, but I can imagine, I've heard, like, when you play in Africa, like, they're just, like, like, you have to play for 3 hours at least, otherwise.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Because they don't get it. And people walk for miles,
Wow.
from another village to go to the concert.
Wow.
You know? So, like, over here, you're like, it's $20 a park. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, you know?
Like, I don't want to Uber that far, you know? Like,
Which is a good thing, though. Like, you know, I mean, it's cool that we can do that, you know?
yeah.
I'm not opposed to it, but I mean, America, you know, we have great fun playing American shows, too. It's not like we don't, you know?
Yeah, man. Dude,
I think, like, the shows to me that are usually, like, the least energy are, like, usually, like, 420 festivals.
yeah, any, like, weed event.
Like the Cannabis Cup type things.
Dude, yeah, everyone's, like, 12 dabs in.
Yeah, we
it's
played
like,
the Amsterdam a few times with Cannabis Cup, and, like, by the time we went on, it was, like, everybody's just, like, well, dude, whatever. Like, you know, you could feel the energy just sapped out, like... That's why, like, I mean, I hate to say it, but that's why a lot of people, like, would rather people drinking at their shows than smoking weed.
Yeah, people are
because when they're drinking, they're like, yeah. Well, think about it. You know what I mean? People are like, oh, well, you should have shows that are, like, no alcohol. And I understand that, but it's definitely not going to be as fun.
Yeah.
It's definitely not going to be as fun. Definitely people get burnt out. Like all right.
Yeah,
or I mean, they're having a good time, but they're just kind of like, yeah.
Unless they do mushrooms and they get naked and run around.
Well, yeah.
Just kidding.
I don't know if I want to do too many shows like that. We had our fill of that one.
Yeah, one is enough.
Yeah.
Dude, do you have any good Gregory Isaacs stories? I know that you guys, I think, were like his last band before he passed away.
We were, yeah. We played with Gregory for the last, probably 3 years.
Wow, man.
Like about 3 years on and off of his life.
Wow.
And yeah, he was a great, great artist to work for. He was really, really nice and super cool with us, like very humble.
Yeah.
And he's the one that gave Stevie, our guitar player Stevie, the nickname Mad Ross.
Oh, really?
Gregory Isaacs would call him, oh, you play like a Mad Ross or something to that effect. And like the nickname stuck with him, Mad Ross.
Yeah.
And I just remember he would have me always rolling spliffs because I always roll spliffs. And he'd be like, hey, Zeb, can you roll me a spliff? And I would always roll him spliffs, you know? I don't even know. Sometimes he wouldn't even smoke it. He would just have me roll him a spliff.
He just liked when you rolled him spliffs.
Yeah, it was really sad when he passed. And it wasn't a huge surprise because I know he'd been sick, you know?
Yeah.
But it was really an honor to play with him. I probably count that as among, like, my top artists, you know?
Yeah, man.
That I'd ever work with for sure. Inside and outside of reggae, you know? Because I've done a lot of things outside of reggae also. Different styles of music.
Yeah, like what are some of those
some Latin
styles?
pop stuff. Paulina Rubio, Cat de Luna.
Because you
Ricky
also
Martin.
play a lot of
I did some
percussion.
sessions
Oh,
with
really?
Ricky Martin before.
Wow.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. I did all kind of different things over the years. Sometimes I forget all of them. A lot of session work.
Yeah.
And I'll forget it. I should write everything down, but I'm starting to get better at that, you know?
Yeah.
But I've always tried to say to people, like, whether you play reggae or you play this or that, you're not a reggae musician. You're not a blues musician. You're a musician.
Yeah.
And you should always, like, try and remember that. Like, you play what you love, obviously, but, you know, music is music. And I would never want to get pigeonholed as, like, oh, that guy only plays a reggae player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, no, he's a good drummer. He's a good trumpet player. He's sick. You know what I'm saying? Not like, oh, he's sick at reggae.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, I know a lot of young reggae musicians are coming up, are really, really, really into this music, and that's awesome. I just want them to branch out also, because you get better as a player. The more people you play with, the more styles of music you play.
Yeah.
But there is one thing I'll say to that is I went to a clinic, Latin percussion clinic, and he said, I can't remember who it was, and he said something like, you'll never be able to play any of this stuff correctly unless you eat the rice and beans, right? And like that always kind of resonated. Like, it's true. Like, so if you, whatever style of music it is that you really love and you want to play, like, learn how to play it correctly.
Yeah.
First, before putting your own influence on it, I think, and you have a solid foundation of what the music is, and then you can make it your own.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you have to like learn the foundation and kind of immerse yourself in the culture.
Learn the foundation of the music and study some of the classic guys that created it.
Yeah.
And then after you know that pretty well, then you go, okay, well, I'm going to put my own thing on it, make it my own thing. I'm not trying to copy them, but you have to have the foundation for the, I feel, for especially musics like reggae or salsa, merengue, like, you know, anything like that, where you really, you know, you really have to like, it's not, you know, I think rock and roll music is a little more like you can kind of always have your own thing going on. Yeah. But when you play a specialized type of music, like what we do, like I think you need the foundation to start with.
I think it's because, like, I kind of see a lot of similarities between reggae music and some Latin music because each part is so integral. Like, it seems so simple, like a clave part, right? Or like just a skank or whatever, but like, each of those things has to perfectly lock with the next instrument. All of these things are...
Without stepping on it.
Exactly. And it has to be done correctly. Otherwise, it just sounds like a mess.
I mean, when you think about it, it's all music really is like that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, think about like, you know, classical music. It's the same, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It has so many moving parts that all have to work together. So I think music in general is like that. Reggae to me is like... The difference of reggae is like there's beauty in the silence. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of beauty in the silence of reggae, where the bass line stops.
Yeah, the whole...
And where the hi-hat is, and where, like, the, you know, the bubble and the skank lays and all of that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, those are the things in reggae that I think are dope. It's like, you know, not only the feel of it, but, like, there's places where, like, it's just silence, you know what I'm saying? Or there's things that they used to do where, like, the drummer would play the whole rhythm, the whole song, and just do one crash cymbal, like, the whole time.
Yeah, some Style Scott stuff, yeah.
You know what I mean? But, like, you didn't care. You didn't need him to do Neil Peart because the song didn't call for that. And they, you know, I always say play for the song, and, you know what I mean? Like, it depends on the style. And, like, nowadays, like, you don't, like, I know there's a lot of drummers, and they really want to be, like, you know, model themselves after these like legendary guys like Sly or Style Scott. And I think that's cool. For me, I don't want to do that. I want to be progressive, and you know, I don't necessarily always go for like, oh, what's the most vintage-y sounding thing and rootsy thing I could do. Yeah, I'm thinking of it in a different terms of the part and the sound. You could there's a way to do it without losing the roots, but you can also make it your own, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point. It kind of ties into what you said earlier, too, about, like, once you learn the foundation, it's like, then you can kind of build from there and start adding your own thing on top of it.
Right.
So.
And then sound, like, the sound of my drums was really important to me. Like, you know, I use different snares and different things for different songs or different textures, like in the studio especially.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I try and think about that sometimes. Like, hey, let me try this.
Yeah, like you were talking about for that song, Aya, like having the T-shirt on your drum.
Yeah, and then I would use a different snare for that song. And compared to, like, the one-drop song, I would use a metal snare, like my Superphonic or something. And
like kind of like
go back to my Bubinga snare for the boof bop because it's fatter, you know? And change it. Sometimes you'll hear records and the drummer will have the same snare drum the whole record. And a lot of time it's a ping, you know, a real high-pitched one. And, like, I didn't want to do that, especially with this record. I never do that. But, like, this record, I wanted to have different textures, like, drum-wise. Yeah. So I think it does. Like, if you listen to it, like, all the snares are kind of different. You know? They're all kind of a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? And some of it is the snare that I use. Some of it is, you know, stuff we did in post-production or whatever. But, like, I didn't want it to all sound the same. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, that's some good advice too.
So, you know what I mean? In the studio, I think it's cool to, like, experiment. Live on stage, I usually use one snare, obviously. You know?
Yeah, well, you have a pad too, and you got a lot
Yeah,
of
I can do
effects
all
in
the other
there as
stuff
well.
with that, but like, I have my go-to snare that I use, that
Oh.
the overall sound that I use for Tribal Seeds, you know?
Yeah, and speaking of pad, that just reminded me too. So, obviously we've been talking a lot about like, early in your career, you spent a lot of time like backing artists, and a lot of time with those artists, it's like there's not a lot of electronics, like there's not a lot of tracks typically, right? Like, or are there sometimes?
No, it would, no, we would have to, like, George would have to like make. They had playback machines that just started coming out, and it was that and this actual thing called a playback machine.
Yeah, wow.
And some of the Jamaican backing bands had it. We didn't. We would try and recreate the sounds.
Yeah.
Live, all of it.
Yeah.
So George would sit there and blend sounds to get the sound, and he would like try and, okay, well, that's a this and a that mix, and EQ it and put some shit on it, and like we would do that. And
he's like a
the times that we
producer.
did have to sample stuff, back then we would have to do it really difficult. Like we would have to like sample each. So you had like a track, it would have the intro part, then the verse section, the chorus section, or whatever, right? So say it's 3 sections or 4 sections.
Yeah.
We'd sample each section, and then George would have it on the keyboard and play each section with a different note.
Yeah.
So if the singer decided to stay longer on the chorus,
you just hit the button.
You just hit that again instead of going back. But you had to be watching the singer, like, okay, he's going back to the verse.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and we really had to do that, you know what I mean? And then I had electronic drums since they first came out.
Yeah.
I've always had like Simmons or from that day till now. I've always Simmons and any Octopad from the first one till now. I've had every one of those. So I've always had samples, playing to fatten it up, but like as far as like the actual loops, like now you could run a track.
Yeah.
No problem.
Easy,
right?
yeah.
Back then you had to cut it and then play it in the right timing. And right on the one.
There's like probably no click either, so you just have to kind of like be like,
the keyboard player was doing that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
George would be doing that. I would be playing on the pad. So I would do a lot of the kick drum stuff where they go on the pad, right? But with the live drums, right?
Yeah.
So it was a lot going on, bro. And then you're talking about artists that would do like 40 songs in a set, like Spragga Benz or Mr. Vegas. They would do like 40 songs. So you'd have to have all this shit ready for 40 songs. Verse, chorus, next song. Verse, chorus, next song.
Yeah.
Some kind of crazy mix, next song. You know what I mean? And ready. Yeah, it was a hard job. You had to keep you on your toes.
Would you ever like write things down or just memorize all those songs? Like
I wrote everything down. Mm-hmm. I mean, I memorize what I can, but like I write everything down.
Like what is your key for? Because like you said earlier, you're backing like 10 artists at a time, sometimes 40 songs. Like how do you manage that?
You have to write that down. You have to make good notes.
Yeah.
Even now, if I do multiple artists or any artists that are outside of my band, like I write down everything. I chart out every song.
Like, do you write
chorus,
like
verse,
music?
chorus, whatever?
Yeah, it's like the form.
Try and notate the ending or something, or like what some arrangement or whatever. I don't really I don't write out drum music.
Mm-hmm.
I just write out notes for me to remember the structure of the song, where to go.
Yeah.
The tempos. If I don't have it saved on my click track already, I know the tempo and I put it in my click track, and
Yeah.
Okay, does it roll in? Is it a swing feel? Is it a steppers? Is it that's going to go to this part here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I have to do that because if you play with so many people, you can't remember everybody's shit.
No, yeah.
It's really hard to do that. So, and I don't want to do that because
and like,
then you have 100,000 songs and arrangements rolling around your head.
Yeah.
You can't remember all of it.
And a lot of the artists will like play the same rhythm, but everyone has like 10,000 different names for the same song. And you're like, what?
And if you don't notate it, you won't remember if this artist wanted their ending to be this or this guy.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, which one was it? I don't remember,
Yeah, how many different ways can I play
Yeah,
real
especially
rock?
on like when you back multiple, like on a festival,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You gotta, I call it compartmentalized, separating, like,
Yeah, dude, like backing artists is such an art form, and it's like all these spontaneous things you have to watch and listen. Like, what's the key to being a great backing musician?
I think
or great backing
2
band
things,
even?
look and listen, right? So always watch the artist.
Yeah.
Always, if you notice when I do it, probably you guys too, but you guys don't have to necessarily do as much, but as a drummer, like I got to control what's going on. So like I'll stare at the art, I'll be watching the artist the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, he's dancing a certain way, or he's about to go to a mix, or he's about to do this. So I watch his body language, I watch him, and then I listen to where everybody's at.
Yeah.
So if you do those 2 things and try and, it's good if you have a musical director in the band, but as a drummer, a lot of times, if you got to kind of like control those kind of things on stage.
Yeah.
And you got to kind of like, yo, boom, next, you know what I mean? And like, you kind of like, when it's a show like that, where it's like, all right, you had one rehearsal, and it's a bunch of rhythms, and the artist is kind of, erratic and all that.
Yeah.
Like, so, it's good. Like, it's good to always watch him. And yeah, eye contact is good.
Yeah.
Always, you know what I mean? Like nowadays, you can literally have in-ears and have like a talk back, and you be like, all right, everybody bridge,
Yeah.
Which nobody really does, but you should.
Yeah.
It's so much easier, bro, than look around like, you ready? Like,
Yeah.
give the drummer a talk back and be like, all right, guys, ready, next track. 1, 2, boom,
Yep, nice and easy, yeah.
It's easy, bro. My favorite artist for that was for getting you to the next song and all that was Frankie Paul. Rest in peace.
Man.
Frankie Paul, when he was ready for the next song, he would put his hand up like this and he would go. And then you know that you had a 4, or you had like, he put it up and then at the end of that phrase, next song.
That's it, yeah.
And every time he would let you know when he's done, boom. He was
Yep.
like, it was great. It was really easy. Gregory was really good with that too. Some artists are not,
Yeah.
They're not. And they expect you're going to read their mind. And, oh, like, bro, like, we had like a 1-hour rehearsal.
Yeah. Sometimes like you don't even meet the artist till you're on stage with them.
Ton of times I backed artists where I never even met them.
Yeah.
Not even met them once in life, but backed them.
Yep.
Like played their music at a big festival, but never even said hi. Ever.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Dude, there's some artists. Yeah.
That's wild, bro.
They just show up. Sometimes I don't even see them.
But
after
he used to do that was Chuck Berry.
Oh, really?
Chuck Berry, when he got older, he would like go. All he ever asked for in his rider, from what I know, he would ask for like a 57 Chevy or some kind of old car, classic car, and his money in cash in like a briefcase, and a backing band that knew all his songs, and he would just use a different band at every show.
What?
And he's like, if you don't know Chuck Berry songs, you don't know rock and roll. You don't deserve to be here, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like he would just be like, all right, the backing band, my money, and the car. That was the only things in his contract. That's it.
Wow. Yeah, he kept it simple. Yeah.
So they probably never met him. They didn't rehearse. He would just show up with his guitar,
Yeah.
plug in, and then
Yeah.
and
Dude, have you heard that story about when Chuck Berry punched Keith Richards?
I did hear that story before, yeah.
Yeah.
What a legend.
Yeah, I heard he's a pretty tough dude. Kinda.
Yeah, man. But those guys back then were not playing around, dude.
Yeah.
Like, they were not playing around back then, bro. Like they had to fight for everything they got, and the whole racist,
Yeah, for sure.
America. They had to fight through that. Imagine, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
That was one thing that Jamaicans didn't have to do in Jamaica, was fight through that racism in their own country thing.
Yeah,
You know
they
what
had
I'm saying?
enough bullshit to deal with over there.
Yeah, black
stuff they had to
musicians in
deal with.
America had to really fight hard, to get heard and on the
Yeah.
radio and then do integrated shows and things like that.
Yeah.
It was rough. I don't know if you ever saw Standing in the Shadows of Motown. Was a great documentary about the Funk Brothers and Motown and the hardships they had to endure just writing this music. It was very similar to the Studio One era of Jamaica.
Yeah.
Where, artists were getting, backing bands and getting ripped off by the producers.
Wow.
And we know all too well from our friends that were there, obviously, that was going on. And so it's like it was a parallel of Jamaica producers and like Motown, how they were treating the musicians. And when they're telling their story, they were fighting like guns, like, give me my money, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. And then the other side of that was there was one about the Wrecking Crew, which is like the white version of that did all like the Beach Boys and the Monkees and all that, right?
Yeah.
And they were living large because they were getting paid. They were getting royalties.
Man.
And all this. So it shows you the dichotomy of what was happening in America as far as like the race thing for musicians back then. You're talking about almost the same time frame, two totally different like lives going on with backing musicians,
Yeah, man, that's a trip.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So, nowadays, like, it's cool that, like, everybody can get their royalties now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not based on your race or, and all that,
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's definitely some good progress with that, and more people, and plus people can be like independent musician or like
Yeah, that's unheard of back then. You were at whatever the record. If you got a record deal, you were just basically there like slave.
Yeah.
You know, whether you were white or black.
Yeah.
You know, you got a record deal that obviously worse, but they pretty much owned you, and you got to do what they said.
Yeah.
It's like that movie. What was that movie with Tom Hanks? That Thing You Do.
Oh.
Right, where the record company owned him, and like, nope, you're gonna sing your one song for the rest of your life, and that's it. They're like, no, dude, I want to do some other stuff. They're like, no, we own you. You're gonna do this. You know?
Yeah.
So nowadays, it's cool that people can be independent. Tribal Seeds is an independent band.
Yeah.
They always been independent. You know what I mean? And there's obviously positives and negatives to both sides of being independent, because then you don't have the machine, the corporate machine behind you. Some of the connections that the corporate machine might not mess with you because you're not part of the corporate machine.
Sure,
those
yeah.
kind of things. But at the same time, you're doing what you want to do, and you don't have to answer to nobody else. And at the end of the day, you make your money. You don't have to, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So I know everybody, you know, because right now, like, you don't really need a record deal anymore. Like, that's like, a lot of people don't even get that anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's still out there, but you got to be like a 15-year-old rapper now, basically, or something, you know, pop, you know, K-pop or something, you know.
Yeah.
But most people don't get record deals anymore. I'm not getting a distribution or a publishing deal
Yeah.
or things like that, you know what I'm saying? But record deals are kind of like out the window now. So everybody's just going independent, like, and that's a cool thing. And like I said, it also lends itself for like a flood of stuff in the market.
Because anyone can put out a
now
song
anybody
now.
can put
yeah.
out anything, and we see that they do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's like, and now how do you navigate these muddy waters of what's good music and what's not good music?
Yeah,
And how do you
yeah.
get above the, you know, the whole thing? So it's like we always say, bro, you know, the music is the fun part. The business sucks. Like,
Yeah.
The business of music is like the word. It always has been.
Yeah, yeah.
Playing the game and the money game and the marketing game, and now it's a social media game, and you know.
Yeah.
You gotta have this many TikTok, and you gotta do this, and it's like, yo, like now you have to. We don't have to write, record, do everything ourselves, get the artwork and all this stuff. Now
Yeah.
you gotta like be up on social media every day promoting and getting
Yeah,
more
yeah.
followers, and you know, like, yeah, it's not an easy road, bro. Like Bushi said,
Yeah, man.
not an easy road. But if you love it, you stick with it. I mean, I never saw myself doing anything else, and I'm here still doing this shit like
Yeah.
25 years later or whatever. So it's like, you know.
Yeah, and you've seen all these changes, and like you were saying earlier too, even like the changes in the musical landscape of like, you know, the kind of the emergence of the American reggae scene, and like, what was that transition period kind of like for you? Like, did you slowly start working with more American bands, or like were you?
Yeah, I
still
mean,
most-
I was always friends with a lot of these guys anyway.
Yeah.
I was friends with Slightly Stupid, and I was friends with, you know, the Pepper guys and all these guys already. So like I was kind of outside of their scene a little bit because I was playing with Jamaican artists.
Yeah.
But I recorded Slightly Stupid on Meanwhile Back at the Lab. I recorded drums
Nice.
and wrote Hold It Down with Kyle.
Nice.
And so I'm on that record.
Another
and,
great
like,
ska tune.
so like another ska tune.
Yeah.
So like I would stay in the mix kind of with my foot in both worlds because I had friends over here and I had friends over here.
Yeah.
And then the backing thing kind of really took a big hit because of visa problems and a lot of stuff for a while, for a few years, and we weren't touring and nothing, and it was really like getting kind of depressing, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And I was like, well, this is the time to really try and like actively like, you know, start pursuing other options. And I started putting myself more into the American reggae scene and being around more, hanging out with my homies in that scene more, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And hey, I'm available, I'm around, let me know if anything comes up, da-da-da. You
Yeah.
never know, right? So, you know, everything obviously kind of worked out the way it did for Tribal Seeds when Silos was leaving to go to Sublime with Rome, and I happened to be there hanging out with them and jamming and doing things, and you know what I'm saying? They were
Yeah.
like, yo, this is a perfect fit, and, you know, here I am with that. So I tell people, like, just show up. Whether or not you're getting paid to do something, just show up. You never know what's going to come of it.
Yeah.
If you show up, at least you never know. That one little thing that happened that night might change the course of your whole, especially in music.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter who you are, how good you are. Like, you could get a break at any time.
That's
So
the
if you
truth.
show up, if you stay home and go, how come nobody calls me?
Yeah.
You're going to stay home and wonder why nobody calls you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you put yourself out there and be good at your craft and be humble and be cool with people, you know what I mean? like things can happen. That's that's what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? 99% of this shit is just people liking you.
Yeah.
And maybe 90%, 10% your talent, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of talented people. You got to be somebody like that people can get along with.
Yeah, and there's
at
a
the end of the
certain
day.
level when like everyone is talented, like you said.
There's a lot of talented musicians.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. There's a ton. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
especially here in LA, man.
In
Like,
LA
Yeah.
and all over and even this reggae world. And so it's like, you gotta be the guy that people are like, yo, I like to hang around with that guy.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
to write music with that guy, record, or you know what I'm saying? That goes a long way. And especially touring, being on the
Yeah.
bus. Can you get along with this dude? You know what I'm saying? Is he is he smell? Is he leaving shit all over the place?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Dude, what's like your touring 101? Like what's like the basics that like
put
everybody
your
should
shit in
know?
your bunk.
Yeah.
Keep your shit in your bunk. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Don't leave your stuff out in the lounge.
Yeah.
And if you see it, do it. If it's something that looks dirty, clean it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't just look at the empty water bottles and be like, man, it's so messy in here. No, empty the shit and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you see it, do it. That's all I could say, Just have respect for people when you're on the tour bus. Like,
Yeah.
nobody really wants to live in a tour bus, you know what I mean? It's like, it's convenient
Yeah.
to get to the next city. That's about it. Let's be real.
Yeah, yeah.
It can be fun, yes, but it's, we have 14 dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's pretty crowded in there, so it's like you got to really be like, and no number 2, that's it. Other than that, anything goes, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Clean it up and don't take a poop. You know what I mean?
Pretty simple.
And
Pretty
you're
simple.
good, yeah.
Yeah.
And don't miss bus call or be
Yeah.
late. I hate when people are late to bus call because if you tell me to be somewhere, I'm there early. Like
Yeah.
bus calls at 3 a.m., I'm there at 2:50.
Yeah.
And I'm okay, I'm not the guy. I never want to be the guy. You don't want to be the guy they have to wait for all the time.
Yeah.
That's another way to get replaced sometimes. If you're always late, or you miss flights.
Oh man,
Or
yeah,
things
it's a big
like
one.
that. You gotta handle your shit. You gotta take it seriously, and it's cool to get drunk and party and all that stuff as long as you make your bus call and deliver on stage. you know?
Yep. Yeah, this thing's a job, and
That's the job. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, man.
It's so funny. It's like it sounds like so simple. It's like, hey, clean up your mess, like.
Well,
but-
you would think, but
Yeah.
you have 14 dudes like all together in this. Like, what is it? It's basically like a little rolling, cylinder. Just dudes, you know what I mean, and a bunch of stuff,
Yeah.
So it's a strange world, bro. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
It's totally a strange world. But
Yeah, man. And
I miss it though. I'm glad to go back on tour. We'll be back out on the road in May, so I'm looking forward to that.
yeah, man. Yeah. Well, we can't wait to see you on the road. And
Yeah, dude.
yeah.
But anyway, our album's called Ancient Blood. It's out now, all platforms. So if you haven't checked it out, please.
Yeah,
Appreciate
man.
y'all.
Everybody listen to the new Tribal Seeds album. Zebby, thank you so much for being
Thanks
on the
for
show
having me, brother,
today.
yeah.
And
See
yeah,
you
catch you
next
next
time.
time,
Peace.
bro.
Yeah.
All right, that concludes today's episode. Once again, want to give a huge thank you to our sponsor, Reason Scene Company. If you guys like what you heard, please feel free to give us a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and make sure to tune in next time for more interviews with your favorite reggae artists and band members. My name is Glenn Holdaway, and thank you so much for listening.